Good evening, Statesboro. We'll call to order the City of Statesboro City Council meeting. We are by pledge of allegiance led by Mayor Pro Tem Paulette Shays.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 3, recognition and public presentations. Agenda item 3A is a presentation of a proclamation recognizing Arbor Day. The proclamation reads as follows. A proclamation by the Mayor and City Council of Statesboro, Georgia, Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable source, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Jonathan McCullough, Mayor of the City of Statesboro, do hereby proclaim February 19, 2021 as Arbor Day in the City of Statesboro, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant and care for trees, to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Dated the 16th day of February in the year 2021.
That's my bad song, right?
Oh, maybe.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank you. There you go.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move down to agenda item 3B, presentation.
Mr. Mayor, I think they got a flag to present.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. We'll move down to agenda item 3B, presentation by the Georgia Forestry Commission recognizing the city's participation in the Tree City USA program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, Mr. King. Thank you for your continuous support for the Tree Board. I'm Wesley Parker, the Tree Board, the City of Statesboro Tree Board Chairperson. And I'm here on behalf of the City of Statesboro Tree Board and appreciate your continuous support. You've always supported us and you continue to show your support by appointing Amanda to fill the position, and we appreciate that. She and John Washington both are very serious about the Tree Board and have done a good job with us. So trees in 2021 are just as important as they were back in 1872 when the mayor was talking about the very first Arbor Day in Nebraska. Probably even more important now in the days of COVID, and especially at the beginning when everyone was sheltered in place, and how important it is to be outside. So when I get home, and Mayor and I discussed this with our kids, about when I get home, I want to tell my kids, get outside, get off those devices.
That's right.
And I always said that, and I saw an article, and I just happened to see an article today Wall Street Journal, it says, is 2 hours a day the new 10,000 steps a day? And the studies say yes. Lower blood pressure, heart rate, lower levels of anxiety, depression, fatigue. So I was right, get outside. So as this council and mayor build the parks, City of Statesboro wants to help. City of Statesboro Tree Board wants to help in that effort, in that endeavor by donating the trees to that park and helping pick trees for the park, and we'll do anything we can to be part of that. We want to be a partner. We want you to come to our Arbor Day celebration that's going to be in March, so you're all invited. We'll get Amanda will get an email to you on that. Last year, Mr. Penny and Councilwoman Barr came, and we appreciate that and hope to see you again. Now I'd like to call on our community forester, Alex Ballard, and Amanda, if you could come on up too. And he's going to present the Tree City USA designation to the City of Statesboro. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I'm Alex Ballard. I'm with Georgia Forestry Commission, and I'm a community forester, and I've been here for a couple of years and I love it. So Tree City USA is an award or a certification given to cities who go above and beyond in the care for trees through education, planting, and anything else that keeps the urban forest healthy. So, on behalf of the Georgia Forestry Commission and the Arbor Day Foundation, I would like to award Statesboro on 28 years of this. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
I also have the flag, if you'd like to take a photo as normal.
Okay. We're gonna need.
Should we all get it like we were last year?
That's fine.
In a year where community engagement and planting trees was very difficult, everybody was ready to get outside and enjoy some nature. So, it's a great year.
Hold on. Yes, Bob, you come over this side. That's it.
I get you beat, you gotta stay in front of me.
No, you ain't back too.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Good, good, thank you. I'm still in that one for you. You know you're not back over here. That's good. Good deal. All right, that's always good to have good stuff like that. We'll move down to agenda item 4, public comments. Leah, do we have any public comments?
No, Mayor.
All right, we'll move down to agenda item 5, which is consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda. This is the approval of the minutes for the February 2nd council meeting minutes, as well as the executive session. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let us show that agenda item 5 is passed. We move down to agenda item 6. It's a public hearing, consideration of motion to approve first reading of ordinance 2021-01, an ordinance amending the Statesville Code of Ordinances, chapter 38-26, adding the International Property Maintenance Code to applicable codes for determination of nuisance. Is there a motion to enter into public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Kane, if you would give us some insight.
Mayor and Council, this is this ordinance revision is brought forward to add the International Property Maintenance Code to section 3826, which is our nuisance code in the Environment, chapter 38. And this would add in addition to the codes that are already in place, would also put in the International Property Maintenance Code of 2015, and any future versions thereof as amended and adopted by the Department of Community Affairs with the following city-specific provisions, and those are listed out with the cross-references to the International Property Maintenance Code. What this would do is would add definite standards for housing within the city, so that the applicable codes would include all those in the International Property Maintenance Code. It would aid in code compliance, citing with specificity which violations are present at a given structure. The question arose about fashioning a local code, and state law requires that as of 2004 that any sort of code adopted by the city be one of those that has been approved by the Department of Community Affairs, and the 2015 version of the IPMC is included in that statute. So that's why this is brought forward today.
Thank you, Ken. All right, is there anyone here to speak for the request? Is there anyone here?
I'll speak for it.
Yes, sir.
Mark Stool, Habitat for Humanity. I support the new ordinance for a couple of reasons. I think generally it will improve the properties around Statesboro. I think it would create better living conditions, especially in our lower income neighborhoods. Another major reason is one that was mentioned earlier today in the work session, is that it improves our chances of being able to get CHIP grants and CDBG grants. Those grants are really essential. If we really want to make the kinds of improvements to the housing in Statesboro that we are working so hard to do, and that we've already invested so much time and energy into doing, we need to get those grants. And anything that improves our chances of getting those grants, I think will benefit the city. And I would support it anyway, but I especially support it because of the potential help that it gives us to achieve some of our housing goals and getting grants that would push us in that direction so that we have the money to do what we want to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else here to speak for the request? Is there anyone here to speak against the request? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to close the hearing? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any discussion by council?
Kane, just real quick, would you describe these section 101, 103, 112, et cetera? Those little modifications? Just for
They're not
record?
modifications. They're placeholders within the ordinance.
Right.
Those are just ones that make it city specific and date specific. Nothing is substantive as to relating to what the standards are. Those are just fill-ins that will allow it to be an effective code for the city of Statesboro.
And section 602 and 603?
Those are this bill.
Related to heating?
I don't have the whole code before me right now.
Sorry, it's in the agenda. Package. It's just related to the minimum temperature of the heating systems in housing and workplaces.
Right, just so that.
I'm just curious, it's the same as what's in here, so why are we specifying? Not that it matters. But.
Well, in 602.3, there is a fill-in date provision, and as well as in 602.4.
Oh, the dates. I see.
Right. It's
I
just
see.
the
It's not
dates.
the temperature, it's the dates.
It's the dates that,
Thank
when
you.
the heat must be provided to the housing.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further questions by council? All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve moving the agenda item forward?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Let us show that agenda item 6 has been approved and move forward. We'll move down to agenda item 7, which is a public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve application RZ 21-01-02. Matthew Lovett requests a zoning map amendment from the CR Commercial Retail Zoning District to the Office Zoning District for 3.2 acres of property located at 16303 Highway 80 West to establish a mortuary. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Fields, will you give us some insight?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Matthew Lovett requests a zoning map amendment to allow for the placement of a mortuary in the currently existing building at 16303 Highway 80 West. This type of use is generally restricted to the office zoning district, hence his request for a rezoning today. The site historically served as the Robin's Nest Event Center and will not require substantial change to allow for the proposed use. The proposed mortuary will not offer any crematory services. And you can see its location of the site on Highway 80 West. Directly behind the site is a pond, and then behind that is the cobblestone development. The future land use plan shows this area in the future to be used for commercial redevelopment. And then the existing use map shows the current zoning on the site, which is commercial retail, which is showing up in purple there. The subject property is shown on the top as well as on the bottom slide as well. Essentially, this is a large ranch house that was converted to an event center and then subsequently now is being proposed for the funeral home. The property to the northeast is shown above, and then to the northwest is a photo of the property to the northwest. And the last slide shows an aerial view with the proposed parking, and you can see that the parking is at the lower, it's that black area on the lower left-hand side of the photo to show that there would be adequate parking that would be accommodated on the site. So staff recommends approval of the zoning map amendment requested by RZ 210102 with the following enumerated conditions. 1, approval of the zoning map amendment does not grant the allowance for any structural changes to be made onto the building without approval from the city. And 2, parking shall be provided at a ratio of 1 parking space for every 4 seats located within the chapel of the mortuary and shall be subject to an approved parking plan. At the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission, the Commission recommended approval of the zoning map amendment and variance requested by RZ 21-0102 with staff conditions by a 4-0 vote. Thank you, that's my presentation.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak for the request?
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
You speak for the request?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
We purchased the property back in November. Didn't know about the zoning until I made some calls. So that's my purpose of being here today. And as Ms. Kathy stated, we're going to pave the area that's now just gravel. We're going to pave it for adequate parking. And then a few questions arose at the Planning Commission meeting a couple of weeks ago. And basically it was just asked, will there be adequate seating on the inside? And I think that the current occupational certificate or seating capacity was 112. And I told that the funeral board of Georgia only requires minimum seating of 30 for a chapel. Currently, there is a large living room area, an open area that we'll convert into a small chapel. We plan to build a chapel, but until COVID is over, we're just going to wait. But until then, the size that we do have now will be adequate for seating, and actually hold about 70 chairs. So.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, can you just tell us who you are for the record?
Matthew Lovett.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there anyone here to speak against the request? Seeing that it is none, is there a motion to close the hearing? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any discussion by council?
Where is it located in District 2? Is that in District 2?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right on the.
Yeah, I
Yes, right
thought
on
it was
the-
teetering around.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So
Sorry.
Oh.
Is there a motion to approve agenda item 7 with staff recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Mr. Lovett, there is a clause here that says that mayor and council gets to come fish for free. They just added it at the last second.
How about a word? We can use the swimming pool in summertime too.
Okay, We'll move down to agenda item A, public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve application RZ 21-01-03, Beyond JPR Properties requests a zoning map amendment from the HOC Highway Oriented Commercial Zoning District to the R4 High Density Residential Zoning District for 0.848 acres of property located at 231 South Main Street and 232 South Walnut Street to develop a multifamily residential housing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Ms.
Thank
Beal.
you. Beyond JPR Properties has requested a zoning map amendment from the HOC, which is a highway-oriented commercial zoning district, to the R4 high-density residential zoning district to allow for the construction of 2 additional apartment buildings at 231 South Main Street and 232 South Walnut Street. The site currently has 2 apartment buildings. One is being remodeled, and the second will be demolished. The applicant seeks to combine the parcels and construct 2 additional 2-story buildings for apartment use. In addition to the zoning map amendment, the applicant requests a variance from Article 7, Section 703B2 to exceed the allowed number of units per acre on a property zoned R4, high-density residential. The grandfathered unit on the site already exceeds this limit with 14 dwelling units, and the proposed variance would increase the number of units on the site to a total of 26. Now, I would say that this is a perfect example of an infill housing site, and it's very appropriate for the area, and I'll go through the presentation, and I hope you'll agree with me as well. So the location, as most of you know, I'm sure, is on South Main Street, and it does go all the way, pardon me, excuse me, it does go all the way through to South Walnut Street. The future land use plan map shows this area to be utilized in the future for commercial redevelopment. The existing zoning map shows the yellow area. It represents the highway-oriented commercial zone for the area. You can see the subject site in the top frame, and I'll draw your attention to the driveway that's sort of right in the front of that photo at the top, because I'm going to speak about that a little as a condition. And then the bottom frame shows the existing apartment building that they would like to demolish. The property to the south is a soon-to-be barbecue restaurant, I believe. And then the property to the east across the street is shown in the bottom slide. The next slide shows the proposed site plan. And you can see that the existing building is in the front fronts on South Main Street. And then we see 3 apartments that are along the northern periphery of the site, and then 3 more apartments that will front on South Walnut Street. So it'll have a street presence on South Walnut Street. And each of these 3-unit buildings will have a second floor. So that's a total 12 additional units on the site. There's adequate parking, and we've got green space and requirements for a landscape plan as well. So I think it works very well where it's located.
Yeah. Can I just ask you a quick question about the sidewalk on Walnut? By the parking?
Yes.
Is that just to accommodate the parking? Is that the deal?
Well, we do have a sidewalk requirement, and...
Right, but it doesn't go across, I noticed on your plan it doesn't go across the property.
It just goes, it should go from boundary to boundary, in essence. John Johnson is here, and I'll let John speak to that sidewalk.
And the other reason,
Let's get back in order.
Yeah.
And we'll hold it until council
Yes.
discussion. So Kevin, is there any further information you need to relay?
Yes, I'd like to give our recommendations. Staff recommends approval of the zoning map amendment and variance requested by RZ 210103 and variance 210104 with the following enumerated conditions. Approval of the zoning map amendment does not grant the right to develop on the site without approval. All additional construction must be approved by the city. 2, no building permits for additional structures will be issued without approval from the Georgia Department of Transportation for the expansion of the driveway. That's that driveway that I brought your attention to on South Main Street. Upon approval, this expansion must be completed before the issuance of any certificate of occupancy. This condition does not include the building currently under renovation, since that's grandfathered in. 3, an acceptable landscape plan must be submitted with the building permit showing the design of the open space on the site. At the regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission, the Commission recommended approval of the zoning map amendment and variance requested by RZ 210103 and V 210104 with staff conditions by a 4-0 vote. That is my presentation.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak for the request?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thanks for the opportunity to come before you. I have some larger copies of these if you need them, a little bit clearer, but if not, all right, Mr. Boyd, ask your question.
Okay, we're not there yet. Do you want to add anything to what she said, and then we can kind of go straight in?
No, sir, we're fine.
Okay, then let's put a pin in there. Is there anyone to speak against this request? Seeing that there's no one here to speak against the request, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right. Councilman William, if you will.
Well, you already heard my question, so fire away.
Yes, sir, we do show a sidewalk along Walnut Street. As it's shown on here, it does just extend across the parking spaces. If the city would like, yes, sir, we can extend it to the property lines on either side.
My question really was, though, is the reason the sidewalk is designed like that is just to accommodate people getting out of cars?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah, okay.
There's no other sidewalks along.
That was gonna be my second comment, was that not only is there not other sidewalk along Walnut Street, but there's some properties where the buildings are right up against, almost up against the street, and I'm not even sure that you could put a sidewalk all the way down on that side of the street. That being said, to me anyway, it makes sense if you want to put a parking, sidewalk for your people getting in and out of cars.
Okay. No.
But I mean, and Kathy, I'll bounce this one to you. I mean, is it appropriate not to require him to build it, considering the fact that we probably can't even put a sidewalk all the way down on that side
Yeah,
of the street?
well, we always like to put in sidewalks where we can.
Sure.
To the extent that we can do that. I think it was appropriate, certainly where those parking spaces are. On the other, then there's a driveway going out to South Walnut, and then there's a small little green space area. So we could put the sidewalk through there, but I'm not sure that it's going to accomplish a lot.
Well, that's what my question is I don't anticipate us like connecting a sidewalk on that side of the street, because as you go north on Walnut, it's almost impossible to put the sidewalk there. It would make sense to put the sidewalk on the other side where there's just a long fence there.
Right, exactly.
But, so, I was just curious about the sidewalk, why it didn't go all the way across, and so, I mean, I'm happy with it the way it is, I mean.
Okay.
So, that was my question.
Okay, any further discussion with council?
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, I'm not sure I'm reading the map, the site drawing correctly. Is there a sidewalk from the front parking lot across the front of the building parallel with South Main?
There is an existing sidewalk across South Main. It's just, it just doesn't necessarily show up on there, but there is an existing sidewalk.
Okay, I was wondering if this was here.
It is now.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's looking good there so far. I mean, it's looking much better with the improvements that are in process.
And I definitely think he's, the builder has made an improvement to that site, so yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Good old rust-free railing.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussions by council? Seeing that there are none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved, with conditions.
Okay. With some of the conditions? Do I
With
have
the
a second?
conditions listed.
Yeah, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? All right. All right, we'll move down to, agenda item 9, which is the public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve application 521-01-4 beyond JPR properties request a variance from Article 7, Section 703B1 of the Statesville zoning ordinance to allow for the construction of an additional 12 dwelling units on the property located at 231 South Main Street and 232 South Walnut Street. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? So moved. All right, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and where's Ms. Kathy?
She explained,
This is the same thing.
she explained it.
Okay, so.
This is just a variance part, but you still.
This is just for density, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we got her on the list to talk. So, there we go. So,
Okay.
anyone to speak for? Anyone to speak against? Okay. Is there a motion to close? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Keep
Aye.
Any council discussion? Nope. Seeing that it is none, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Wait, who is first? Doesn't matter. I was first. And who is second?
Everybody want to play tonight.
It's been a long day.
I know it is.
Let me get you all a flag.
We might be delayed or something.
Straight on football.
That's what we need.
As a point of privilege, and council approval, I would like to consolidate 10, 11, 12, and 13, as a point of privilege.
Did we vote on this one? I thought we just voted to exit the public hearing.
We hadn't voted on that.
We ain't voted, I thought we approved it.
We just left the meeting.
All those in favor of approving with staff conditions?
Aye.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we're moving on. Yeah. I'm tired of y'all.
Leah, she first did it, I seconded it, then we all voted.
Yeah.
We're gonna move Leah chair and put it right there.
Leah said it right there.
Yeah. Okay, so we're at, as a point of privilege, and council, permission, I would like to consolidate 10, 11, 12, and 13. Is that,
As long as we get a description of each of them from the city manager.
Okay. All right, and so what we'll do, so right now we're going to the consideration of a motion to approve agenda items 10, 11, 12, and 13. We'll turn the floor over to Mr. Charles Penny to go into discussion about each of those.
Mayor, members of the council, item 10 is the intergovernmental agreement with Bullitt County committing the SPOS funds for improvements for Brady Street and Louettamore Park. I'm pleased to inform you that at the county commissioners meeting this morning, they approved the intergovernmental agreement. And so tonight, we're asking for you to approve the intergovernmental agreement to work with the county. They committed their $200,000 for 5 years, and we have to commit our $220,000 as well. So this is the intergovernmental agreement with the county for the $200,000. Okay, and then number 11 is a resolution authorized reimbursement of city incurred capital costs undertaken prior to the closing on the park improvement bonds from the proceeds of the bonds. So we have incurred some expenses. So what we're asking you to do is to approve the reimbursement of those funds. We should not hit the $500,000 mark. To date, we probably incurred about $120,000 in expenses. Most of it's been design costs and before we actually close on the bonds. So this way, we can reimburse ourselves for those funds that we used, because what we would have used would have been SPOS funds that would be used toward that debt payment. And so what we would do is put that money back once those bonds are sold. Okay. And then number 12 is a resolution authorizing bond issuance by the Urban Redevelopment Agency. Earlier today, it's the resolution which the Redevelopment Agency approved the resolution. So we're asking our city council to approve the resolution for the issuance of the authorizing the bond issuance by the Urban Redevelopment Agency. Now we'll need to just say to you, and and we'll get this clarified through Kane, through our city attorney and our bond counsel. We do need to have another meeting of the Urban Redevelopment Agency, and it'll probably be on March the 2nd. So tomorrow, we will send an email to the Urban Redevelopment Agency, putting everybody on notice that there will need to be another meeting. Today was not their only meeting. So we'll need to come back after we actually have the financing in place for them to take some action, another action on the actual bonds. So we need you to approve that resolution for the bond issuance by the Urban Redevelopment Agency. And then number 13 is a consideration of motion to approve the intergovernmental contract between the city and the Urban Redevelopment Agency regarding the issuance of a bond to finance improvements at Louetta Moore and Grady Street Parks. So for the public, the Urban Redevelopment Agency is the only one that can issue these bonds. So, however, the Urban Redevelopment Agency doesn't have any tax authority, doesn't have any revenue coming in. So in order to ensure that all actions and activities are carried out and the city is the agent for the Urban Redevelopment Agency, we need to enter into the intergovernmental contract with the Urban Redevelopment Agency. We serve as the agent to make sure that contracts are issued, bond proceeds are used and pay out for what we're supposed to use it for. And then the big deal is, once the bonds are issued, they can issue the revenue bonds. But once those revenue bonds are issued, that the city is making a commitment to pay the debt on those bonds. You're committing SPOS funds and any other future funds to ensure that that debt is paid. The other part of it is that if for some reason the cost of the project exceeds what we anticipate would be sold in bonds, then the city, the Urban Redevelopment Agency is not going to be liable for that. That would come back to the city, and the city council would be responsible for finding any additional funds that we would need. And that, I believe, explains all of those things.
All right, thank you, Mr. King. Any discussion by council?
And we do have bond counsel and Doug Gephardt are on Zoom. If we have any questions.
Any discussion by council?
No, Mr. Penny, I appreciate all the work that you guys have done on this, and including Mr. Gebhardt and the rest of the staff. And maybe I missed this, but the only thing I haven't seen about this project so far is like the potential operating costs moving forward. And I understand that, but when we got a pool and we're going to be doing programmatic things, I mean, we haven't seen any of that, and that is going to be something that has a long impact. So is that something that you guys can put together, some kind of a pro forma to present with us when we get the bond stuff at the next city council meeting?
We'll work with the county because the operating side is with the county.
Are they going to be operating?
They will be operating.
Okay.
You're improving it, but the SDS agreement.
Sure, I just wanted to make sure.
By that agreement, they are responsible. Now, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and go ahead and say this to y'all. What we've been lacking at these parks is programming.
That's right.
And I think we've been real clear with the county that we believe we need more programming. So when we put a pool there, obviously there's operating expense.
Right.
Okay? But we want to see more life in the Carol Love Jones building, staffing there, whether it's tutorial programs going on. We want to see other things going on at that location. So, and I'm say this as well. They have an excellent Parks and Recreation director.
Yeah, that is that deal.
They hit a home run, and I can say this. And I told Tom Couch that. So we can work with them to see if we can get that information, but they're going to be responsible for operating. Now, but I will say to council, after about the first year, we may have to do something to help to make sure we get it to the level that that we want it to be at that park, at each park.
And then the truth of the matter is that when we're talking about cutting crime in the city of Statesville, let me tell you some things that happened simultaneously. When we took programming out of Lit Street, it was the good people that were providing the role models and being, and working with the kids in the neighborhood, another element came in and took over that. So, in my position, this is, the mayor's position is this. Whatever it takes to get programming back into that area, we have to do that. We cannot talk about seriously cutting crime and saving our young people from getting involved with gangs and things that they're not supposed to be in if we're not willing to put our money where our mouth is. And so at this point right now, I think we have to make that commitment, because if we want our city to be that city on the mount, then we can't just talk the talk, we gotta walk the walk. So with that being said, I know that the county is responsible for the operation costs. We are chipping in on the expenses as far as the capital side of it. But I believe in Eddie. Eddie is, I know you've already met Eddie. Yeah, Eddie is really, really good. I believe in him, and in conversations with him, I believe that he is dedicated to helping young people in our community, so.
And my point for asking it, Mayor, was not to put council on the spot. It was really to shine the light on the county that, hey, this is a collaborative effort here.
Yeah.
We are doing these things, but the county primarily runs like the after-school programs, for example, and the city provides a location there at the Avery Center for after-school, but there's a lot of kids that live within walking distance of that park.
Yeah.
That, man, how convenient would it be for their parents if they could pick their kids up at an after-school program at Moore Park, as opposed to coming downtown or going to one of these schools that are on the edges of the city. So that being said, like I said, I'm wanting to make this public and say, hey, county, we expect some programming, we expect some of this stuff. I mean, they don't have to spend necessarily extra money, but they can shift some of the things that they're already doing into these facilities once they're fixed up.
Yeah, and I will say this about the county. The county has been really good working with us on this project. Tom has been extremely responsive. Eddie, they've all taken time out to kind of walk through and all that kind of stuff. So I believe in the new relationship between the county and the city. That's what I believe in. And I think that we're doing some great stuff. And I think we're going to continue to move that way.
Well, Mayor, I would just like to say Eddie and the staff have been involved in reviewing the plans.
Yeah.
So that they've been there from day one.
Yeah. So is there any other discussion from council? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve agenda items 10, 11, 12, and 13?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right. We move down to agenda item 14, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2021-09, a resolution requesting approval to apply for 2021 Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation grant for the city of Statesville, Georgia. Chief? Chief, or Mr. Peter, you were chief on top.
Yeah, Mayor, all we're doing is asking for authority to be able to apply for a grant. It's about $14,400. There's a 10% match, and it's for personal protective gear, extractors, and then personal protective gear dryers. And we're asking you for authority to be able to submit the grant application.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Venus and
Okay, all right, so, Venus, moves, John seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 15, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2021-10, a resolution requesting approval to apply for the 2025 Prevention and Safety Grant for the city of Statesboro, Georgia. We got it, Mr. Penny.
Okay.
All right, any discussion by council? All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'm anxious.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Move on down to agenda item 16. We want to talk about this.
This is a big one.
Yeah, we have to talk about this. Consideration of a motion to award a contract with Delta Incorporated in the amount of $512,869 for the purchase and installation of a CNG fueling station and approval not to exceed $684,000 in total expenditures to perform other related improvements. Funds are approved in the FY 2020 CIP budget item number NJ-58. Mr. Penny, if you'll give us some insight, please.
Mayor, members of the council, the city has had a CNG filling station since about 2013. We actually purchased a used one from Georgia Southern. And so now that system needs to be replaced. So we went out to bid, and you see the bid range from $476,000 to $696,000. It is in our CIP, so that's why we recommend to you, this would be a new system. So we recommend Y Delta be awarded the contract. But then there's also some additional work that needs to be done. It's well within budget, and so some extra things that we want to include is an install and startup package from the system manufacturer. That's $36,000. Then there's some power system upgrades that will be performed by Georgia Power at an estimated cost of about $58,000. And then they want to perform upgrades to the dispensing system by replacing hoses and fuel nozzles for an additional $60,000. Even with those expenses, they would be within the budgeted amount of funds that we would need. And we have a brand new system. And so we recommend to you that, again, award to Y Delta up to the amount of $684,000 recommended to you.
All right.
And I even, the CNG is important to us from the standpoint, some of our heaviest equipment, especially solid waste, operates on CNG. And then I think we have another level of equipment that we're using for CNG, mid-level. However, we also want to look at some of our like knuckle boom loaders and things of that nature. CNG is pretty inexpensive for operations, and so by making this investment, there's more of an impetus to make sure that we are expanding our program, especially for those heavy equipment operations.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Penny. Is there any discussion from council? All right, seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We move down to agenda item 17. Consideration of a motion to award a contract to J.C. Lewis Ford for the purchase of 2 Ford F-150 pickup trucks in the total amount of $49,548.56. Both vehicles will be paid from GMA lease pool. Mr. Penny, any further insight?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let us move on to agenda item 18, consideration of a motion to award a contract to American Signal for the purchase of 3 Advantage SLED portable trailer mounted measure signs for the Houston Galveston Area Council Purchasing Cooperative Contract in the amount of $40,000. This equipment will be paid from with T-SPOS funds. Any discussion on this?
Do you want me to say it?
And that's pretty much it. We're getting new road signs. You know. Mr. Penny was picking at me because I've been talking to him about those.
This is one of the mayor's favorite things besides paving streets. He likes those signs.
That's right,
Those
that's
digital
right.
signs.
Tell people about the vaccine, tell people to wear their mask. Absolutely. But with that being said, is there any discussion from council? All right, seeing that there's none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, any other business from city council? All right, seeing there's not.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I did want to make a comment. I was privileged to attend the Avery Center. Yes. What happened at the Avery Center Sunday afternoon, a local treasure, he's actually born in Matter, but he contributes a lot to Statesville. Mr. Michael Whitaker was recognized on his 80th birthday as the newest inductee into the Avery Legend of the Arts. And I just want to congratulate him and say that was a wonderful appointment. He's contributed a lot to the arts in Statesboro.
Yes. Thank you, Sharon. I was looking at your pictures. So any further business from council?
You can remind us about the food drop.
Go ahead.
So tomorrow is the second of the city-sponsored food drops for folks who might be in need of help with groceries. This Saturday from 9 till 12 at Statesville
Okay.
High School.
Okay.
You thought say tomorrow.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Saturday. Saturday, 9 till 12, not tomorrow.
Anything else from council? All right, seeing that there is not really
Oh,
down.
I want to ask, the crime prevention task force, they're supposed to be meeting on March.
The first Saturday in March.
First Saturday in March, and I think someone was saying that it was supposed to be at the
Military Sciences Building,
place.
right?
Just wanted to let everybody know it's coming up.
And we're gonna be sending out more information.
Yeah.
We just got the place locked down the first of this week, so we'll be getting out more communication.
And we'll be, I'm assuming we're gonna do a press release on that?
Yeah.
Military Science.
Okay, all right, good deal.
Mr. Phillips.
All right, any other business from city council?
Sorry. That'll end by the end of the week.
All right, so we move down to agenda item 20, city manager comments.
Mayor and council, I just wanted to call your attention, I know we've been here a while, but I sent out the FYI packet. It's a memo from me on the P25 radio system. And I attached a longer memo from Tom Couch that I asked for you to review. And I do recommend that we do what Mr. Couch is suggesting. There's going to need to be an intergovernmental agreement for the radio system. And to this point, I believe the thought has been that there are many users of that radio system, and there was a capital recovery cost that was a part of that scenario. And so without going into a lot of detail, we're gonna have some more discussions, but if you look at the memo, if the folks that are currently using the system, if they should choose to walk away from our system, from the system, our cost is gonna go up. And that's not what we want to see happen. We want that radio system to be used, and it's a good radio system for all the users. But we don't want them to decide there's another way or a cheaper way out, and they don't want to contribute to the cost recovery, to the capital recovery portion. So we want them to continue to be a part of the operation and maintenance of it. But Mr. Couch is recommending, and I agree with him, that we not make the capital recovery a part of that calculation. Because if they walk away, our costs are going to go up, and we don't want that to happen. So we'll be coming back to you, but I wanted you to have this information to review.
Okay.
I don't understand what the radio system is. Can you help me with that synopsis?
It's the emergency radios that everybody carries.
System for the entire county.
So it's like EMS, police,
Right,
whatever.
and I think it probably costs about $6 or $7 million as part of our SPOS funds. And I think it was probably the basis of the support from the county for the SPOS funds, because they take that off the top.
Yeah.
And so the system, normally radio systems will last you 20 years. And I think we were at the end of a life cycle. So we have a new radio system. And so we have to buy our own radios. The other users have to buy their radios, and they're not cheap radios. But over time, we'll need to replace that system. But that's probably some 15 to 20 years down the road before we'll be dealing with that situation again. But it's the heartbeat of our public safety system.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Benny, I'm putting you on the spot here, but it is the school board that is threatening to pull out of this, is it not?
Well, you are putting me on the spot.
I know.
They may not be the only one.
They may not be the only.
They may not be the only one.
And I want to be clear, folks, and Mr. Penny, tell me if I'm wrong here, but these radios, like they're emergency radios, right? And they have them in the schools right now. The school is talking about not using those radios because all the teachers have cell phones. And they think being able to call 911 on their cell phone Now, if any of you guys have been in these schools, you know your cell phone don't all that work on all them too many places. So, I mean, I recommend everybody here call their school board and say, hey, look, and for the safety of our kids, we need these radios. Your principals need these radios. Your safety officers need these radios.
Yeah, they need it for the bus system and all.
Yes, bus drivers too,
There's no
yeah.
question that they need the radios, but again, we want them to use the system versus having a real rugged system, and then we lose users of that system. And so, but that'll be for another discussion. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of what we're discussing at this point, because intergovernmental agreement is going to be coming back to you at some point. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Penny. With that being said, we'll move down to agenda item 21, which is public comments. Are there any public comments? All right, seeing that there's none, we'll move down to agenda item 22, consideration of a motion to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters, real estate, and/or potential litigation in accordance with OCGA 50-14-3B. Mr. Penny, is there a need for executive session on behalf of staff?
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Demetrius,
Okay.
and on your personnel problems.
We'll move down to agenda item 23, consideration of a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
So
to-
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's been a long day.
Good night.
Thank you.